Okay, expand and simplify. X times x is x squared. X times minus 9 is minus 9x. 5 times x is plus 5x. 5 times minus 9 is minus 45. I can always put the two terms together. X squared minus 5, sorry, minus 9 plus 5 is minus 4x, and the minus 45 stays. Factorise fully. Okay, first of all, have a look. I can obviously take an x out of both terms. So I'm going to put x brackets 9x plus 6. Have a look in your brackets, see if another term is, and then you realise obviously I can actually take 3 out as well. So I'm also taking 3. Okay, which will then make this 3x plus 2. There's nothing in the brackets I can deal with, so that's your answer. 3x brackets 3x plus 2. Calculator to work this out. There's nothing really more you can do. You just got to make sure that your calculator is exactly what it says. So 29 squared minus 4.6 square root of 35 minus 1.9 cubed. And check every single digit on your calculator is exactly what it says there. I've got 157.668255. Write down your answers to 4 significant figures. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That 6 pushes it up. So it's going to be 157.7. Okay, right, Jamie got a mark of 34 on a science test. Using the scatter graph, estimate Jamie's mark on a maths test. So what I need to do is align a best fit. And essentially, it's the point that you think goes through most of these. Now, after I do my line of best fit, I'm going to find 34 on a science test, which is here. I'm going to go up to the line. I'm going to go across. I estimate that to be 40. Okay. Obviously, there's a little bit of leeway with these. Also, my line's thick. 4. The table gives information about the time in seconds by 18 students to run a race. Work out an estimate for the mean. Give your answer to 3 significant figures. Okay, so I don't know what score this is, so I'm going to guess, and my best guess is going to be the midpoint. So that's going to be 7.5 because it's 5 plus 10 divided by 2. Next one's going to be 12.5. Then that's 17.5. And then this one here is going to be 22.5. I'm going to multiply these by the frequency. Okay, which is 7.5. 12.5 times 2 is 25. 17.5 times 7 is 122.5. And 22.5 times 8 is 180. I'm going to add up all my scores here. So 180 plus 22.5 plus 25 plus 7.5 equals 335. I'm going to divide it by the amount of people there are. Some people add this up and they think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Apart from the fact that's a stupid thing to do, that gives me an answer of 83, which is 83 seconds, which is far too much. My total is a total of these. You can add them up if you want, or you can read the question, which is going to be 18. The answer is the same. So divide them both by 18. And my answer is 18.6111. 3 significant figures, 1, 2, 3. That one keeps it the same, so the answer is 18.6 seconds. Okay, right, 37 centimeters cubed in millimeters cubed. Right, we know that 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters, but this is cubed, so it's slightly different. Now, if you think about a actual cube, yeah, which is 1 centimeter high, the volume of that cube is going to be 1 centimeters cubed. Now, of course, that same cube is also 10 millimeters wide. Okay, so the volume of that is actually going to be 100 millimeters cubed. So that's my conversion. Yeah. So 37 times 100 is going to be 3700. Yeah, or 3,700. Okay. You must show all you're working at. Right. So speed equals distance over time. Okay. We want the average speed, which we don't know. My distance is 65 miles. Okay. My time, so I need to work out the difference in time from 1:30 to 4:48. So it's 2:48. So that's going to be 1 hour and 18 minutes. Yeah. Let's change it. So that's going to be 1 hour and 18 I can't have. So I'm actually going to put 18 over 60. Okay, type all that into your calculator. So 65 divided by 1 and 18 over 60. I've got 50 miles per hour. Right, this number in standard form. So I'll write 3, 2, 4. Right, so I'm going to put my decimal there. Over 6. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 10 to the power of 7. Right, as an ordinary number. So 4.96. So it's minus 3. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. My decimal place is going to go here. Let's put 2 zeros in. And that's my answer there. I'm going to rewrite it because I've got 2 decimal places there, which can be confusing. 00496. I was asked to compare the following 2 numbers, A and B. She says that 6.121 is bigger than 4.3, so A is bigger than B. Is she correct? You've got to say no, you've got to make reference to the indices there for the power of 10. Yeah. If you wanted to, you could write them both out as a normal number, which then is easy to compare. But just put focus onto saying that one is 10 times bigger than the other. Okay, so I've got a pentagon here, and inside is a rhombus. This rhombus is 117. We need to find x. Okay, so I'm just going to find out every angle I can, just for the hell of it. I know that there's 117 because opposite sides of a rhombus are the same. I also can work out these 2 angles as well. And you've got 2 options. You know it's quadrilateral, so they're going to have a 360 divided by 2. Or those 2 angles are actually allied angles, which actually mean they're equal to 180. Either way, you've got the same thing. So I'm going to do 117 minus 180. I mean 180 minus 117. Okay, which is 63. So that's got to be 63, and I know that's got to be 63. Because this is a regular shape, I know all of them are the same. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 sides. I'm going to subtract 2, which means I've got 3. 3 is the amount of triangles if I wanted to break it up. So let's times that by 180. Okay, so 3 times 180 equals 540. So now my total internal angle is going to be 540. I'm going to divide that by 5 because there's 5 angles. So I know one of them is going to be 108. So I know that's 108. All of them are 108. So I actually know all of this is 108. So to work out a little bit, I'll do 108, take away 63, because that's what's left, which leaves me with 45. So that angle there is 45 degrees. Okay, so this question is, I got to enlarge this shape by a scale factor of 2.5 from the 0.01, which is actually already marked. So it means each one of this distance has got to be 2.5 times away. So if I do this one here, you don't have to label them up. I'm going to do it just for the hell of it. I'm going to call A. A is 2 away, so I'll do 2 times 2.5, which is 5, which means it's now going to be 5 across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is there. I'm going to call it A dash. Right, if I want to do this one here, which is B, I know it's going to be 5 across. I just need to know how far up it is. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 squares, so I'm going to do 4 times 2.5, which means it's going to be 10 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is going to be here. I'm going to call B dash here. Last one here, I'm just going to call C. Okay. Now there's 2 ways you can think about it. I can know it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 across, which means it's going to be 10 squares across. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I know it's going to be 4 up, which means it's going to be 10 squares up again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's going to be here. Okay, and then obviously you've got to finish it up by joining all the dots. The dotted lines that I've drawn, they're ray lines. I recommend you to always put your ray lines in because they always check to see if you're right. And just to be clear, your ray lines go from your original to your image, and they should always go through your point of origin. Okay, so I need to solve 9 plus x all over 7 equals 11 minus x. Now I hate fractions, I can't deal with them. So I'm going to times both sides by 7. So I've got 9 plus x equals 7 times 11 minus x. 9 plus x. I'm going to expand my brackets to make it 77 minus 7x. So I'm going to put my numbers on one side, my letters on the other side. I'm going to add 7x because it's just a little bit nicer if I add the lowest value of x. So I've got 9 plus 8x equals 77, and minus 9 from both sides. Okay, which means I've got 8x equals 77 minus 9. Okay, which is 68. And I want to divide both sides by 8 to give me 8.5. That's my answer. Just go a bit further down for a second. Right, so I need to simplify 4 brackets y plus 3 cubed over y plus 3 squared. Now I'm going to write out a long way. It's going to be 4 times y plus 3. So we're doing it 3 times because it's cubed. Okay, and my denominator is just y plus 3 squared. Now it's sort of a bit easier now to see what cancels out. So if I do 1 from the bottom, 1 from the top, 1 from the bottom, 1 to the top, or 4 brackets y plus 3. Now if you want to expand it, you can, to make it 4y plus 12, or you can leave it as 4 brackets y plus 3. They're both acceptable. Probability tree diagram shows the probability that Bismarck will be late for work on 2 days a week. Calculate the probability Bismarck will be late on exactly one of the 2 days. Okay, so exactly one of the 2 days. So she could be late for the first one and not late for the second one, yeah? Or she could be not late for the first and late for the second. So we need to work out the probability of both of these and then add them together. So if we do not late and late, the ones in blue, it's going to be 0.93 times 0.11. Okay, so 0.93 times 0.11. Okay, which gives me 0.1023. And if I do it for the green one, it's 0.07 times 0.98. 0.07 times 0.98, which equals 0.60686. I've got to add them together, 0.1023, which gives me the probability of 0.1709. Okay, so here's my stem leaf diagram with 23 flowers. Just essentially got to draw into a box plot. Okay, for my box plot, I need my lowest value, my lower quartile, my median, and my upper quartile, and my highest value. My lowest value is 173. I can read that off the stem leaf. My highest one is 219. And to find my median, I'm just going to do the lazy way and do first, last until I get in the middle. So first, last, 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 first, last. So on there, so I've got my median as 197. Now for my lower quartile, I'm just going to do exactly the same first, last, but just with the lower half of my data. So first, last, first, last, first, last, first, last, first, last. So that's my lower quartile, which is 188. Up quartile, same thing. I'm just going to do like first, last, but with my median separated. So first, last, first, last, first, last, first, last, first, last. That's my up quartile, which is 209. I'm just going to plot these on my graph at the bottom. So 173 is here, 188 is there, 197 is here, 209 is there, and 219 is here. I'm just going to box them off. You're going to use a ruler, but I'm not. There's my box plot. Okay, A and B are mixed together in a ratio of 2 to 13 by volume to make liquid C. A has a density of 1.21 grams per centimetres cubed, and B has a density of 1.02 grams per centimetres cubed. A cylindrical container is filled completely with C. The cylinder has a radius of 3 and a height of 25. Work out the mass of the liquid in the container. Now there's a lot to it. Now, first of all, I'm going to focus on this little bit here. Yeah, the container. Now, if you ever see something like this, I sort of feel like I need to work out the volume of this. Yeah, and this is where you might get marks where you probably won't see it. So if I do a little sketch of my container, I know it's 25 centimetres in height. Yeah, I know it's got a radius of 3. So I know this is going to be my cross-section times my depth. My cross-section is a circle, which is pi r squared, which turns into pi 3 squared, okay, which is 9 pi. Okay, and my depth is 25, so I need to times that by 25. Okay, 9 times 25 is 225 pi, which is actually centimeters cubed. Now we've got to work out the components of A and the components of B. I'm going to find out the mass of both of them, and I'm going to add them together. Now I know these are in the proportions 2 to 13. So A is going to be 2 out of 15, and B is going to be 13 out of 15. Okay. So let's focus on the A first of all. Sorry. Changes to blue. So liquid A. So I know it's going to be 2 out of 15 of the total, which is 225 pi. Okay. So A, so 2 over 15 times by 225 means it's going to take up 30 pi. Okay. Now I need to remember my formula for density, and people tend to forget it. It's always there in my units. So grams per centimeters cubed. Grams is actually mass, and centimeters cubed is volume. I know that equals my density. So let's do it. So I know my density of A is up there, which is 1.21, equals my mass, which is what the question's trying to find out, and my volume is 30 pi. So to solve that, I times both sides by 30 pi. I need to 1.21 times by 30 pi, which is going to be 363 over 10 pi. Right, let's do exactly the same for let's work out B. I know B is actually going to be 13 out of 15 times the total, which was 225 pi. Okay, when I times that together, I'll do 13 over 15 times 225, which gives me 195 pi. Okay. I need to use my density formula again, but I've got my numbers here. So my density for this one is 1.02, which equals mass, which is what we're trying to find out, over my volume, which is 195 pi. So to work that out, I've got to times both of them by 195 pi, which gives me 1989 over 10 pi. Now what I need to do now is I need to add both my fractions together, because that's going to be my component of A and my component of B, which have slightly different masses. 363 over 10 pi, which gives me the answer 1176 over 5 pi. Of course, it actually says it to significant figures. So if I change it to a number, I get 738.9025. 3 significant figures is 1, 2, 3, and that 9 pushes it up. So my answer is going to be 739. Right, so a group of people went to a restaurant. Each person chose one starter and one main course. The number of people who chose soup versus the number of people who chose prawns is 2 to 3. Of those who chose soup, so it's just the soup guys, those who chose lasagna, to those who chose curry is 5 to 3. Of those who chose prawns, to those who chose lasagna is 1 to 5. Now, there's a lot of information to digest, and we'll do it little bit by little bit, and it's all about equivalent ratios, yeah? Because even though it says 2 to 3, that doesn't necessarily mean 2 people chose soup and 3 people chose prawns. It could be 4 people chose soup and 6 chose prawns, or I don't know, 20 chose soup and maybe 30 chose prawns, yeah? So I want to put soup as 2, yeah, and prawns as 3. Okay. Now, of those that chose soup, yeah, I know a lasagna is 5 and curry is 3. And of those that chose prawns, lasagna is 1 and curry is 5. Now, I sort of want to make the soup be an equivalent ratio to the total of the people who chose soup, and the prawns be an equivalent ratio of the people that chose prawns. So if I add up the people who chose soup, I've got 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8 here, yeah. And then of those who chose lasagna, I've got 6. So you want to think of my original numbers of 2 to 3. can I make that an equivalent ratio that's going to have multiples of the 8 for soup and the 6 for prawns? Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to times this by a multiple of 4. Yeah, because again, remember, these are still equivalent ratios, so I'm not really changing anything. So that means for soup to prawns, I'm going to get 8 to 12. Okay, now that's actually quite nice because the red ones are the people who chose soup are already in a multiple of 8. So I can actually think that lasagna to curry, I can leave as 3 to 5 because that's fine because then that's 8 and that fits nicely in. However, for the green ones, that's 6. So for that total to be a multiple of 3, I need that total to be 12, so I need to double it really. Yeah, so I'm going to say the lasagna is now going to be 2 and my curry is now going to be 10. So then I can actually do these ratios now. They're actually nice, easy to add up because they're fine. So in total, yeah, I know that my lasagna is going to be 7 because it's 5 plus 7, and my curry's going to be 13. So if I want to think about the actual fraction of those who chose curry, I can use my last bit here that's written in purple, yeah, which is going to be 13, and 7 plus 30 is 20. So it's going to be 13 out of 20. It's quite a complicated question. If you understood it, well done. Okay. Prove algebraically that the sum of any two consecutive even numbers is always a multiple of 4. So I need to do an expression for an even number, which is 2n. And the next consecutive even number, I'm going to put 2n plus 2. You could put 2n minus 2 if you wished. Now, it says sum, which is a plus, and a square. So I need to square both of these. Okay. And I'm just going to expand it to see what happens. Now my first one's quite easy to square. It's just 4n squared. My second one is actually 2n plus 2 times 2n plus 2, which is going to be 4n squared plus 4n plus 4. Now if I put these together, I get 8n squared plus 4n plus 4. And I can factorise 4 out from all of this, which is n squared, so 2n squared plus n plus 1. Okay, now here I need a statement saying because I factorised 4 out, it's got to be a multiple of 4. Y is inversely proportional to the square of x. When y equals 8, x is 2.5. Find the negative value of x when y equals 8 ninths. Okay, so I know y is inversely proportional to the square of x. So I know y has got to equal k over x squared. Okay, so all we need to do now is find out what k is. Let's substitute the values in. Okay, so I know that 8 is a y, which equals k over 2.5 squared. To solve that, I'm going to times both sides by 2.5, which means k is actually going to be 50. So my equation is actually y equals 50 over x squared. It's important to write that because that's going to be a mark. Okay. Now we need to find a negative value of x when y equals 8 ninths. So I've got 8 ninths equals 50 over x squared, and all I have to do is solve it. I'm going to cross multiply by multiplying both sides by 9, and then multiplying both sides by x squared. So I've got 9 times 50, which is 450. I'm going to divide both sides by 8, so I've got 450 divided by 8, which I've actually got as 56.25. I'm going to square root both sides. Yeah, which means x is going to equal to plus or minus 7.5, and they've done it on purpose to say the negative value, just so hope because you might forget that there's a plus or a minus. So my answer is minus 7.5. Okay, graph of y equals x squared minus 3. Okay. Use graph to find estimates of x squared minus 2x minus 2. Okay, so I've got 0 equals x squared minus 2x minus 2. And I want to get it to look like something equals to x squared minus 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2x to both sides. And I'm also going to minus 1 to both sides. So then that side, my right hand side actually turns into x squared minus 3. And my left hand side becomes 2x minus 1. Now this helps us out because if we drew a graph of y equals 2x minus 1 and y equals x squared minus 3, we can see where they intercept and then we can do the solution. Now I'm going to do the gradient interceptor method to drawing this. There are other ways. So I know my y-intercept is minus 1. And I know my gradient is 2. Now be careful because the scales are different. one going across is 2 boxes, but one going up is like 1 box, because this one here really should be 1. So for every 1 I go across, I'm going up 2, which is there. For every 1 I'm going across, I'm going up 2, which is there. For every 1 I'm going across, I'm going up 2. 1 I'm going across, I'm going up 2. Of course, you could obviously do your table of values. Now you're going to try and draw the straightest line possible. You're going to use a ruler. I'm not, because I don't have a ruler. You're going to get a line like this. This point here and this point here are going to be my solutions. Okay? And I'm reading off the graph, so there's going to be a bit of variation, but I'm going to say that it can equal minus 0.8, which is that one there. And this one here I'm going to say is 5 is 2.7. And there's my 2 solutions. Okay, the diagram's got triangle ABC. AB is 3.4, AC is 6.2, and BC is 6.1. D is on the line BC, such that angle DAC, so DAC, is 2/5 of BCA. Right. So if I'm going to just label this X, because this is DCA, and then I'm going to times that by 2/5 to get DAC, so that's going to be 2/5 of X. Okay, calculate the length DC. Okay, give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. You must show all you're working out. Okay, so we need to just keep finding the angles, and we need to find the length DC, which is just this little bit here. Okay, so because we've got all 3 sides, we can use the cosine to work out what X. And if you remember, cosine is A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos A. And I'm also going to call that A my thing. This one here A. Let's call that B and that's C, which is slightly different to how the diagram is labelled up, but it makes no difference. So I've got 3.4 squared equals 6.2 squared plus 6.1 squared minus 2 times 6.2 times 6.1 cos A. I always like to do this and then just like rearrange it all. So I'm going to minus 6.2 squared from both sides, and I'm going to minus 6.1 squared from both sides. Okay, so I get 3.4 squared minus 6.1 squared minus 2 squared, which is going to equal minus 2 times 6.2 brackets 6.1 cos A. And I want to divide them all by minus 2, 6.2, 6.1. And obviously you can change these all into numbers if you wish. I'm going to type all of this that's on my left into my calculator, because that's going to be cos A. And I'm expecting to get a number which is below 1, because it's a cos. 3.4 squared minus 6.1 squared minus 6.2 squared all over minus 2 times 6.2 times 6.1. So I've got 0.847, which equals cos A. So A is going to have to be the inverse of that number. Okay, so I'll do cos minus 1 of 0.847, and I've got A to be 32.08. So that's X in this case. Yeah, 32.08. And I'm actually trying to work out this side. If I know that's 32.08, I can actually work out this side here actually. Okay, because that's also just going to be 2/5 of X. So if I times that by 2/5, that's going to be 12.832. So what have I got? So I really need to use the sine rule if you're thinking about it. So I've got this side and this angle. Yeah, well this side I want, and I've got the opposite angle. Just what's Y. And I can work this one here in 80 degrees. So if I do 12.823 plus 32.08 minus 180, the other angle here is going to be 135.087. Okay. So if I use my sine rule, I'm going to change my pens for this. So the sine rule is A over sine A equals B over sine B. Actually, want my oh no, yeah, it's good. Right, so let's. So I'm going to change my things around again. I'm going to call this one here A, and the side I want to work out A, and this one here I want to keep as B, and that one is going to be angle B. So I've got x over sine 12.832 equals 6.2 over sine 135.087. To solve this, I'm multiplying both sides by sine of 12.832. So x is going to equal 6.2 over sine 135.087 times sine of 12.832. Just type it all into the calculator. 6.2 divided by the sine of 135.087 times by sine of 112.832. And I'm going to close all my brackets, which I didn't do it for some reason. I've got 1.950. And hopefully that's correct. And then you realise the question actually asks you to 3 significant figures. My answer is technically 4 significant figures. So I have to do the first significant figure, a second significant figure, a third one. So my answer is 1.95 centimetres. Okay, the graph shows information about a part of a cyclist's journey. Estimated speed for the meters in second of the cyclist is 6 seconds. Now, what people tend to do is they look at this and they read it off and they sort of do speed equals distance over time. And they think the distance is 10 meters and they think the time is 6 seconds and they do like that. That is not strictly true. Yeah, what you're actually doing there is you're working out the average speed from 0 to 6 seconds. That's not what it's asking. It's asking what is the speed at exactly 6 seconds. So we need to attempt it a different way. What we actually do is we look at this 0.6, okay, and we need to try and work out what is the gradient of that line at that point, and that gradient will tell us the actual speed of it. So I'm going to draw a straight line there, and it doesn't matter how big the straight line is, but I like to keep it into actual units. So I know here that the actual base here is 2. Yeah. And I just got to read the height, because that's how you work out the gradient. It's your height divided by your base. So my height here is, I've got to keep with the scale of this one there. Yeah. So it's just, that's 5, so that's 10, 11, 12, 13. So I think my height here is 13. And to work this out, I'm doing 13 divided by 2, okay, which is 6.5, and it's meters per second. Okay, so we need to work out the infinitesimal sequence. We don't know whether it's quadratic or geometric or linear. So what we've got to do first of all, we have to work out our first level difference of these. Okay, so -1 to 0, I've got a difference of 1. 0 to 3, I've got a difference of 3. 3 to 8, I've got a difference of 5. And 8 to 15, I've got a difference of 7. Okay, because they're different, we know it can't be linear. So let's do a second level difference. Here I've got 2. Here I've got 2. Here I've got 2. Okay, so because it's a second level difference, that means that we've got a quadratic. Okay, so all quadratics are an squared plus bn plus c, and all we've got to do now is work out what a, b, and c is. Okay, because our second level difference is 2, we know a has to be 1 because a is always half of it. So actually, no, it's going to be n squared plus bn plus c. Okay. Now we've got to work out what b and c is, and there's loads of different ways to do it. But the way that is taught the most is that this one here is obviously n squared plus bn plus c. So what we would need to do below is to write the sequence of n squared. Okay. Now then, sequence of n squared of n being 1, I've got 1 squared, which is 1. Then I've got 2 squared, which is 4. I've got 3 squared, which is 9. 4 squared, which is 16. And 5 squared is 25. Now I'm going to take the top one away from the bottom one. And if you look at algebraically, actually cancel out the n squared. So I've got bn plus c, which is a linear sequence. Let's see what the rest of it is. -1 minus 1 is -2. 0 minus 4 is -4. Okay. 3 minus 9 is -6. 8 minus 16 is -8. And 15 minus 25 is -10. Now if you look at this, you've got a linear sequence. Okay, I've got a difference of minus 2. So I know this is going to be minus 2n plus 0. So b must be 2n and c must be 0. So I've got the sequence c 1n squared minus 2n plus 0, which is n squared minus 2n. Now just tell you there are other ways to work. When a biased coin is thrown 4 times, probability of getting 4 heads is 16 out of 81. Work out the probability of getting 4 tails when the coin is thrown 4 times. So what I need to do now is I need to work out what's the probability of getting heads once, and then I can work out tails and I can go on from there. So if I know the probability of getting heads once is x, getting heads 4 times is going to be heads to the power 4. And if you think about your tree diagram, it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and whatever these probabilities are, you just times them together. So now that's going to be 16 out of 81. So for me to get x, I need to do the full fruit of both of these. Okay, now you can use your calculator to do it your head by square root and square rooting again, but I know that's going to be 2/3. Okay, so the probability of getting heads is 2/3. Okay, probability of tails, that's got to be 1/3. So if I get tails 4 times, it's going to be probably tails times tails times tails times tails, or tails to the power 4, or 1/3 to the power 4. 1 to the power 4 is 1. 3 to the power 4 is 81. So the answer is 1 out of 81. What I'll do with any algebraic fraction question is try and factorise whatever I can. So the first one I can take 7 out, which will make it x minus 2. The bottom one, that's quadratic, so it's going to be 2 brackets, x and x. What is it? Let's just factor pairs. 1 times minus 12, 2 times minus 6, 3 times minus 4. I've got to think about the other ones. They need to add up to 4. So it's going to be this one, but it's actually going to be minus 2 times positive 6. Yeah, minus 2 positive 6. Well, let's erase that out because that's annoying me now. Okay, divide x minus 6, I can't do anything with. X cubed minus 36x. I want to do that in a couple of stages to factorise, just so you can actually see what's going on. First of all, I can take x out, which brings x squared minus 36. And don't think that's done, because x squared minus 36 is not fully factorised. That's the difference of 2 squares. So it's going to be x brackets x minus 6, x plus 6. Yeah, so x brackets x minus 6, x plus 6. It's divide, so keep it change. X minus 2, x minus 2, x plus 6, change the sign. Put it on the top, so it's x brackets x minus 6, x plus 6, all over x minus 6. Hopefully a lot of this stuff will cancel out. That cancels out with this. I've got plus 6 and I've got plus 6. I've got minus 2 and I've got minus 2. What I'm left with now is 7x. So A7. Yep. Okay, this is not an easy question. Right, the diagram of sector OACB of a circle with centre O, and the point C is the midpoint of the arc AB. The diagram also shows a hollow cone with vertex O, and the cone is formed by joining OA to OB. So these shapes are essentially the same shape. They're just like moulded together. And just so we know what's going on, this line gets joined up to that line. Yep. And that then becomes the lateral height of the cone. Yep. And if I change the colour here, and so then like this circumference of the arc, or the arc I suppose you should say, actually ends up being the circumference of this circle here. And so I need to like remember about both of these. And the confusing things is obviously we're going to be using like the same terms over again for different shapes. So the radius of the arc is going to be different to like the radius of the cone. Yeah, so don't try and think that they're the same, because this is when the issues happen. Now we need to find this angle here. Okay, and what we need to do is we need to like work backwards really. So there are formulas that's associated with that. Let's just call it theta for the time being. So you've got theta over 360. Okay, that's the same as like your area of the arc over your area of the circle. And that's also the same as the length of the arc over the circumference, but I don't think we need that for this one. So we need to work out what we need. Theta is what this question's asking for, so we don't need to work out just yet. 360 we've got. So we need the area of the arc and we need the area of the circle. Okay, so we need to find the radius of like the segment, I should really be saying. And then we can, when we find the radius, we can find the area of the circle. Now we've got formulas here that we can use. Okay. The first one, we've actually got enough information there to actually work out the radius of the cone. Yeah, which would be this length here. So if I do that, it's a third pi r squared h. Okay, so we've got a third pi, so equals your volume. R, I don't know. The height is given to us. It's got a height of 3.6. And my volume is 56.8. Okay, let's solve that. I'm just going to get R on its own. So I'm just going to be quick. I'm just going to divide by a third pi 3.6. Divide by a third pi 3.6. So my radius squared. Just got to type into my calculator. That's 56.8 divided by a third times by pi times by 3.6. And I've got my radius squared to be 15.0666. So I'm going to square root that. So my radius is going to be 3.881. So I'm just going to put 3.881. Okay. Now remember, this is the radius of the cone. It's not the same as the radius of the segment. Yeah, because they're different. Don't make that mistake. It's easily done. Okay. Now I've got this. I've got my radius. I actually know the height of this as well, because it is 3.6. And I can use that now to actually work out the diagonal. And I've got to use Pythagoras. So it's going to be a squared plus b squared. C squared and so I'm going to type in 3.881 squared plus 3.6 squared. I'm going to square root my answer. Okay, which makes C equals 5.2935. So now my lateral height is 5.2935. 5.2935, and it's bigger than 3.6. That makes sense. That also means that my radius of my sector is 5.2935. Okay. So now we're sort of getting somewhere. Now we can find out the area of the sector if it was a circle. Yeah. So if it was a circle, it's just going to be pi r squared. Okay. Which is going to be pi 5.2935 squared. Okay. So I'm going to square that answer and then times it by pi, which gives me 88.034, which is the area of the circle which I got. Now the only thing I need to do is my area of my arc, and you might think, well, I'm sort of running out of things to work out here, but my area of my arc here actually turns out to be the curved surface of the cone, because you've got to think it actually curves around. And I've got a formula there for the curved surface area of the cone, okay, which is pi RL. And again, we're working with two different radiuses here, so try and think about which ones we're talking about. We're talking about the cone. So it's going to be pi times this radius, so 3.881, times my length, which is that number there, 5.2935. Just type that all in. 5.2935 times 3.851 times pi. Okay, so 64.04. Okay, so now I've actually got all the stuff I need to do that formula right at the top, which finally gets me to my answer. Okay, I'm running out of colour, so I'm going to do black. I've got a little space here to do it. Okay, so I've got theta over 360, must equal my area of my arc, which is that one there, 64.04, over the area of my circle, which is that one there, 88.034. And then I'm going to times that by 360 to get theta on its own. So I'm going to do 64.04 divided by 88.034 times by 360. And I've got the answer of 261.88 degrees. It says significant figures, 3 significant figures. So it's 1, 2, 3, which is 262 degrees. Now, because there's a lot of calculations here, there was a lot of rounding here. So if you got roughly about that answer, you're going to be right. Right then, so it's a parallelogram. OZ equals A. So OX equals A, which is OX. That's that one there. OY equals B. That's that one there. It's B. P is the point on OX, so that OP to PX is 1 to 2. 1 to 2, so make them into thirds. I was on a point OY, so it's 1 to 3, so 1 to 3. So let's make these both quarters. You must work out its simplest form Z to P and to Z to R. Right, let's do Z to P first. Right, so we need to work some things out. Actually, so Z to P, I want to go down and I'm going to go across. Yeah, because I know O to P is going to be a third A, but obviously I need to know Z to O. Because it's parallelogram, I know Z to O is going to be the same as Y to X. And Y to X, I can go down B and across to A. So I know that's going to equal minus B plus A. Right. So if I do Z to P via O, I know it's going to, let me just put this on minus B plus A. So I know it's going to be minus B plus A plus a third A. If I simplify this, I've got minus B plus 4/3 A. Okay, now I need Z to R. Where's Z to R? Z to R. I'm going to go down to via O, and I'm going to go up to R. So, and all my numbers are there, so I don't have to do anything. So Z to O, as we've already done, is minus B plus A. And then I'm going to have to go to O to R, which is going to be plus A equal to B. Let's put these together. So this is going to be 3/4 minus 3/4 B plus A. So simplest form, so it's 1 to 4/3. Yeah, that's not the simplest form, so it's 4 to 3.